The hosts of Two Bored Apes are not registered investment advisors. The podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Nothing said on it should be construed as investment advice.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.
Welcome to episode 40 of Two Bored Apes. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Roy. Roy, you got a smirk on your face. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm eager to jump in to what we were talking about just before we started recording, which is breaking news. Well, crazy news. Jamie went to see a doctor, which you said you haven't been to a doctor, a general physician.
A general physician for just a checkup in about 20 years. Yeah, that's true.
Wait. Okay. You said for just a checkup. So are you saying you have been to a GP, general physician?
No. But I went to if I had something wrong, I'd go to a doctor that specialized in that.
So why did you go to this doctor? Are you okay?
It seems like it. Yeah, no, I basically have not had health insurance. And now my wife has got a job that's got me health insurance. And she's like, you better darn go see a doctor. And now I'm acting like we don't swear on the podcast. She wanted me to go see a doctor. Very reasonable request and smart. And I got in with the doctor that sees basically all of her family. We, by the way, made the appointment like 7 months ago. And the first they could get me in was a couple days ago, which is funny too, when Americans complain about other countries with socialized medicine. They're like, well, you have to wait forever for a doctor. Anyway, yeah, I saw the doctor and you were stunned by that. Yeah. Or no, I saw the doctor for the first time in 20 years and you were stunned by that.
That to me
that's probably
is
more
crazy.
Accurate. Yeah, it is. No, of course it's crazy for sure.
Yeah.
So there's that. But that's not our news of the week because our news of the week tends to be more crypto and NFT related. Yeah.
Yeah. We skipped over the whole meal thing as well. I had a pretty big meal.
Okay, let's hear about it. What did you have?
Had some Vietnamese food, ordered some tasty delivery, had some crispy calamari, had some pork belly.
I love pork belly.
There was one other thing, some ribs, Vietnamese ribs, which I don't think I'd ever had before, but they were tasty.
Pork ribs, I assume.
I assume too.
Okay, sounds good. The last thing I ate, while we're doing this, was
it's a tradition now. Yeah.
So it's called a jambon beurre, which is basically just a ham and butter sandwich in French. You get some good crusty bread, good ham, and good butter. I made one of those, and then I ate it.
That sounds delicious. Yeah,
it is delicious.
I had a great one of those when I was in France, I don't know, years ago. Yeah.
Now, what part of France were you in, right?
I think it was Paris.
That's a classic place to go in France.
I'm going to be there in 10 days.
Doing what? Just vacationing.
Yeah, well, me, Rachel's mom is coming over in 3 days, and we're going to Berlin, we're going to Paris, we're going to Spain, we're just this whole trip.
Am I supposed to know about this? What you're saying?
You definitely know about this.
I guess maybe I was supposed to. Anyway, should we talk about things that our listeners are interested in?
I think some of our listeners are interested in.
That's true. Let me be more specific. Should we talk about the things that our podcast is categorized under as far as subject matter?
Probably.
Right. I have places to be in 2 hours, so we don't get to be doing this hem and haw thing.
Let's get to the news of the week. Should we
news of the week?
News of the week.
The news of the week. Wasn't a ton, but we got a fun little update from Mark Zuckernerd about Meta and the Oculus Quest app ecosystem and all of this stuff. Why don't you tell our listeners what happened?
47.5%.
Unbelievable, right?
So, an announcement came out from Facebook Meta Mark saying, "Hey, we're moving towards our metaverse plans, and we have this whole ecosystem planned, and you'll be able to buy and trade digital goods and assets, and we're only going to take 47.5%." And what? I think it's the Oculus store takes 30%, and then there's this additional store that takes 25% on top of that or something like that.
Yeah, or an additional 25% of the remaining. But then they said somehow that 25% like that entity is not always involved, but even when they're not, we're just going to take that 25% for good measure.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I remember us talking on the podcast, I don't know, 10 episodes ago or whatever, when Looks Rare came out. And I was saying, like, it's way better than OpenSea. And I think people should be using it, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, I don't feel like it can necessarily stay at the valuation that it is, because I don't see how 2% of a fee is sustainable.
Yeah.
And now here we are 2 months later, and Facebook is saying we think we can take 47.5%. Now I'm going to give them one speck of the benefit of the doubt here. You look at places like Looksrare or OpenSea, they've got like 1 million users, 2 million users, or whatever. The size of the audience that Facebook can theoretically bring to the table is literally 60% of humanity or whatever that uses Facebook and Instagram. So in that sense, your TAM, your total addressable market with them is huge. But 47.5% is crazy.
Yeah.
Especially too, as Mark, I believe, is on the record complaining about the App Store percentages that
which is 30
Apple and Google take, which I'm totally on board for. I think it's ludicrous, which is like 30%. And now on his, somehow they want to take even more than that.
It's so crazy. But yeah, I mean, that came out in the last, I think, 24 hours. And Punk6529 just has a funny... He's known for his really eloquent tweet threads, really long, well thought out. And he just started one, and it's like 120 crying face laughing emojis.
The crying laughing emoji, yeah.
Yeah. And then he's just continued, just like he's dumbfounded. And
I think a lot of us are dumbfounded.
It's so tone deaf.
And so the other thing is, I also talked on this podcast after the big meta video came out. It was like an hour and a half. I watched the whole thing, and I vaguely bought into what he was saying. Like, he was really doing a pretty good job of saying the right words in the right order to make it seem like he got the concept of Web3 and interoperability and empowering creators and stuff like that. But then just to go and turn around and do this. It is funny too, like, some people on Twitter are saying how obscenely bullish it makes them feel about Ethereum, because it's just, if that's the competition from the centralized entities, it's like, wow, this might be easier than we think.
Yeah, for sure. It's not going to be hard to get people to come on over to an unwalled garden when it's less than 2% fees versus 50%, almost.
Yeah, well, or at least we think and hope so, right?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Right.
Anything else you want to say about that?
No, that's it for now, I think.
Well, there's one other news of the week which is specific to our podcast, and that is that we have a sponsor, which is
true
news.
Our first ever sponsor, NFTgo.io. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, Roy?
So it is like they call themselves the best all-in-one NFT analytics platform. So it's like a website.
They very much seem to be that to me.
They are, yeah. I mean, we have poked around, played with it a little bit, and it just has so much stuff. Like,
yes,
different
definitely
things.
A lot of the stuff when you're thinking, I want to learn about literally any sort of aspect of the numbers of a specific NFT project or NFTs in general, to make an informed decision. This has it. It can analyze people's wallets that already hold it. It gives you kind of volume stuff, the biggest sales recently, just all of that great stuff. It's really pretty amazing.
I really like the distribution of holders of a project. So it's like this percentage of people own just one NFT, and this percentage of people own like 2 to 3, and et cetera, et cetera.
You tweeted earlier today, I think, where you were saying that people pay a lot of attention to floor price, but you think maybe a better metric to look at is what percentage of holders in a project have exactly one piece from that collection. And this has not only that, but also breaks it down further with how many own exactly this percent and 5+ and all of that, with nice pie charts and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like a lot of the stuff that's on there has sort of, I've seen it on other sites, like here and there, but it's like everything is on NFT Go.
Yeah. There's really a couple competitor sites that if you cobbled them all together would sort of give you the same thing, but you'd have to go to a bunch of different sites, and they wouldn't connect to each other as well. They also, are not relying on anybody else's APIs and stuff that can kind of just run them for their data, which is really nice if you kind of really incorporate it into your research flow, to not have to worry that next week they're not going to have access to the data that you're used to. And they also do go ahead.
I was going to say, just take it straight from the blockchain.
Right. And they also do like articles that kind of can give you, sort of opinion pieces about how to analyze and what to think about. And then you can kind of take that framework and go use the actual tooling to do your research.
Yeah. That's I think we did a pretty good job of talking about our first sponsored.
Which thing. Is what is the sponsor again?
NFTgo.io.
True. That's been news of the week.
News of the week.
Bored Ape Yacht Club. So the Bored Ape, this podcast is called Two Bored Apes. That refers to the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I have a Bored Ape. You have a Bored Ape. 2 Bored Apes. That's where the title comes from. And on these non-Q&A episodes, we like to talk about what's been happening in the Bored Ape Yacht Club. What has been happening recently, Roy, in the Bored Ape Yacht Club?
So there's a big announcement recently that Coinbase has partnered with Bored Apes to, I think, produce an animation or an animated film or a series.
Trilogy. It's a trilogy of films, of short films, they said, which is, I don't know what that means, because some people, when they say short film, they mean 12 minutes and others mean 50. So it'll be interesting. Like if it's really something close to an hour each, that would be super amazing. Significant. Whereas the other thing is much less so. But they also, with that, they basically had a casting call where you can connect to the Coinbase wallet and submit your ape as a possible, basically, actor or character within the film trilogy, which is pretty cool, and had, I believe it's a 3 Ether licensing fee to you, basically. And there's been a lot of discussion about that number specifically, and then the fine print that goes along with it as to whether or not it's reasonable, unreasonable, increases the value or decreases the value of your ape and all that stuff. A lot of talk on Twitter amongst the apes about it. Finally, a topic that has usurped the discussion away from the AIP proposals in ApeCoin.
And so I believe this is specifically Bored Apes for the first film, but they've said that for the second one, will be mutants will be allowed to license them.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. What do you think about the 3 ETH?
I think that as a number, it's pretty reasonable, honestly. It kind of depends on how many they're going to have in it. If they only pick a couple and they're super main characters, and again, this also goes back to the length thing. Are we talking about a 50-minute thing or like a 12-minute thing that's basically just a YouTube video? That kind of thing also seems relevant to me. But anyway, I think that there's a lot of stuff in the fine print that seemed bad to me. And I think I would take
what?
I wish I could pull it up. It's sort of hard to find at this point because you have to be through various levels of connection. But basically, they say we can do anything with this that we want and do derivatives and this and media that exists and media that hasn't been invented yet, yada, yada, yada. And then at the end of that sentence, there's a comma that says, for the purposes of marketing this film. So there's 150 words where they're basically saying the scope in a way that's bad for the NFT holder. And then 10 little words at the end that kind of try and make it seem better for you.
Interesting.
So I guess it sort of depends, but they're also saying, it's not going to be a for-profit thing. It's sort of just a marketing type thing, which, it is sort of believable, right? And reasonable, but I don't know. It's still, they're over a $30 billion company. So 3F is kind of low on that spectrum. But again, depends on a lot of things to me. How many are they going to have involved? And to what degree are they going to exploit that fine print? And how long is it? Blah, blah, blah. So ultimately, I can't really know because it's so early on. But I think it's totally up to you. And also, you can submit it for consideration, and then if they
Mm,
want to use it, then you get to see the full license
right,
agreement
right.
and can choose to sign it or not. So
Yeah.
it's all consensual.
Did you submit yours, or are you planning
I
to?
did not. I did not. I think it actually closed already.
Oh, well,
But I looked into it a little bit, but was a bit turned off basically by the fine print, and so didn't. Even though
yeah.
I do think that mine has the aesthetic that is good for
Mm,
storytelling, um, but that's fine.
yeah. I did not, but it's just it's exciting.
Yeah,
It's
it's
yeah.
so a couple more things about it. It's perpetual, it's royalty free, but it's non-exclusive. So again, there's pros and cons with how
Mm,
much it's taking advantage of you and how much it's not, sort of.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it was exclusive, that would be just kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
and they're also like they're basically attaching an NFT to your ape to basically represent the deal, and then so if you
I saw
sell the
that. Yeah.
ape, the future holder is also beholden to the agreement and that kind of
Mm,
thing.
yeah. Um, Mutants, I think, hit an all-time high this week, or like today or yesterday, which you are a little sad about. I can see in your
Yeah.
face because you sold
Yeah,
your mutant.
I sold in January, and for a
Hmm.
couple weeks it looked smart, and now
Yeah,
it looks very dumb. But you got to do what you got to do, right?
you got to sell NFTs at some point. You
Yes,
got to take profits.
especially when 70% of your NFT portfolio is all Yuga Labs ape related things.
Yeah,
You got to de-risk at some point, and I did
yeah,
that. So
yeah. Other side, the land sale is. I think there's a lot of speculation that it's coming soon this month in that leaked deck. They said I think April was when they were planning on launching it. I haven't
I don't
heard
remember
anything
seeing that,
further.
but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are expecting it over the next month. I remember, I think it was Gaga came out and said like, we're just gonna do the unexpected now, or maybe
Right.
mix things up. So who knows what's gonna happen? But if things go as sort of people are expecting, or that was leaked, it sounds like they'll be releasing 100,000 NFTs, land plots, 30,000 given for free to mutants and apes, and then 70,000 being sold at one ETH. What do you think about that?
Sounds like a lot of land to me.
Yep.
But you know, I have talked about being in general bearish on the concept of all of this NFT land. Um, but ultimately, the one operator in the space who has really shown, to me at least, an ability to execute on plans, to exceed expectations, to lead the entire pack, excuse me, and do things that basically the rest of the NFT community says, oh, that was a good idea. Let's copy them, that sort of thing. Um,
Mm,
it's basically the one that I'm sort of interested in because of that. But it still seems like a big number. I mean, that's a
yeah,
lot.
it's a ton.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Um, I tend to agree. I'm growing a little more bearish on metaverse land in general. I was quite bullish on it last year, but that's when there was like three operators. And I was like,
Right.
well, all right, you got Sandbox, you got Decentraland, you got Crypto Voxels, and Somnium, I guess four. Now it's like there's so many.
Right.
I can envision a world where like dozens exist and thrive, and people are hanging out on them. Similar to like how there's just so many video games out there, and people
Yeah.
like enjoy different games for the different reasons. But um, yeah, and then again, yeah, to your point, Yuga Labs has just done so excellently at delivering and creating value over delivering basically. So yeah, I'm excited to see just what they come up with. Like,
Yeah. Me too.
yeah,
Well, when you say the thing about like seeing dozens could succeed, I totally agree with that. But again, the land and gaming assets specifically, I find it seems like the actual use cases that are supposed to drive the value to them, to me, seem so far out in the
mm,
future that it's hard for me to get as excited about them in the present as, say, other NFTs or as other NFT buyers currently do for those
Yeah.
land and gaming assets, because you think about things like the communities and profile pictures and art, like they're already doing the thing that they're supposed to do, whereas the gaming goes, well, the game will be out later, and the world will be out later, and people want to play these things later. We'll figure out the business model for our play to earn later. All that stuff is just so far out in the future and hypothetical. Whereas, the art is already art, and if you want to collect art, it's done. You buy it and it's done. Whereas the other thing, it's like there's that execution risk that people talk about a lot in the NFT space. But there's also like not even execution risk, because with execution risk, to me, there's a sense that if you execute, you will be doing the thing that others have already done and will kind of prove that value. But to me, the market might not even really exist for some of this stuff. So the team could execute to the best of their ability, and still nobody is interested in using the products or whatever. That's sort of my take on it.
I agree with pretty much all of that. I think, we're starting to see some of these metaverses have like more volume, and like NFT worlds, I know a lot of people are enjoying building in and hanging out in, because it's just like it's a Minecraft copy and people are already familiar with Minecraft, and that just makes total sense. But like Sandbox,
it's not a copy though, right? It's like it's a literal Minecraft server. It's not like a clone.
I don't know specifically. I know the maps are like generated from Minecraft seeds, and then I don't know the exact technicals of it.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
believe
basically
the engine
Minecraft.
and everything it's Minecraft.
Yeah,
which is kind of wild when you can
they
do
got
that
away
for
with it.
free already. Yeah. That too. I mean, I guess I don't know Microsoft's legal jargon or whatever, but it is interesting too. I mean, we've talked about this before, but when we looked at like the old crypto voxels plots, and it was like they were so small, and then we saw Sandbox, and we're like, that is huge. And now the NFT worlds, aka Minecraft ones, are just inconceivably large. That all of the activity that currently takes place in these quote unquote metaverses could literally easily be fit onto one of these NFT world plots. And so the idea that we need more supply is kind of weird for the current amount of demand. But, again, you go back to the power of the operator of Yuga is they could actually make people want to spend times in these by doing interesting, cool things or whatever. That just doesn't exist with these other ones that are not operable yet, or are just kind of barren wastelands.
Yeah, for the most part. I agree. Anything else, Bored Ape, happening this week? Last couple of weeks?
I think that's pretty much it. Even though,
Ape Fest is like, was 2 months away? Just a bit over 2 months, and
I have no idea. I have so much stuff coming up soon that it's hard for me to keep track of what's what.
Yeah. Are you gonna? This is getting off topic a bit, but like, are you planning to go to Vegas for the World Series of Poker?
I am. Yep, some of it. Not the whole thing. Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Probably a little bit before the main event, and then the main event is my vague plans.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this section up.
Bored Ape Yacht
Club. Art blocks. And generative art in general.
Generative art in general. Right, we got a new curated drop coming up. That's one thing we can talk about. The first one of Series 7?
Series 7, yeah. Which basically, art blocks just every quarter is a new series, and they just chunk them into quarters. And it's been a few weeks since the last drop.
They do a little bit of breaks between them.
Yep. Flux by Owen Moore.
Now Owen Moore has a few projects on fxhash already that people can look at and buy and whatnot. But this is a thing that has been happening more, I think, lately, and will continue to happen more. Is now that we've got this much wider, less curated marketplace for generative art, is you're going to be seeing more and more of these artists come, and the NFT market is already a bit familiar with them. Whereas so much, I feel that previously, when a new curated artist would come to Art Blocks, it was the NFT world's first experience learning about them. Whereas now we kind of have a better ability to already kind of see their work and have experienced it and appreciate it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think just in general the level of knowledge of the average buyer of generative art and person who may be minting art blocks is just so much higher now than it was 6 to 8 months ago, because
Yeah.
we've all, for those of us who've stuck around, it's like we've spent more time looking at generative art, reading about generative art, knowing the artists, looking at other things. And so yeah, it's just again,
Getting
like before
recommended.
yeah.
Sorry. Like a big thing that's happening to me is, I've been getting into doing it a little bit myself and following more and more on social medias, and then the algorithm goes, oh, this dude loves generative art, and it just keeps recommending me more and more people, basically, and I'm just
Yeah.
finding more and more that way as well.
I'm noticing that again, like go back last year, if I saw an art blocks drop, it would be like, usually, very often, especially with curated, the very first time I would see anything generative like that. But
Yeah.
now I'll be like, oh, I see similarities between some fxhash drops or a gen.art drop,
Right.
or yeah.
More of a frame of reference, because it's so funny. It's like it's a very legitimate form of art. It's still sort of new in ways, and also not new, but because of the way that we all got introduced to it, not from like an art angle, but from this NFT angle of just kind of being interested, and it was an intuitive form for that type of art to be packaged in. It got all of us kind of interested in it, and so we became really interested in generative art before we had a breadth of knowledge of it, and now we're kind of building that over time.
Yeah, which is, it's fun. It's really, really cool.
Very fun.
Yeah. I'm just going to read the quick description of Flux because it's short. So the universe in which we exist is an ever-changing ebb and flow of energies that coalesce into observable patterns of repetition and harmony. By practicing mindfulness, one can observe their part in this universal flux and achieve a powerful sense of a connection to the whole. And then it says, click to touch, begin the audio-visual experience. So these NFTs, these pieces of generative art are they're not static. They move. There's a visual, not a visual, emotion aspect to it, but a musical aspect too, which I think it's cool.
Is that, I'm thinking that, is that the third curated project to have a sound component? It's third based on my count in my head, but I could be wrong
Let's
about
see.
that.
Algorithms. The early one, the
Hyperhash.
Hyperhash. Unigrids have sound.
Unigrids?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe. I know that Unigrids like moved, and I didn't realize that. Right? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah. There's so many little like Easter eggs in art blocks that you still.
I know.
Yeah.
And there's like letters hidden in Unigrids too that I found that out way later or something.
Did you know that squiggles animate?
They move. They move.
And you can change the background color too.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. Algorithms. That's still one of my favorite drops. And then they released a new drop, Algo Beats, a playground drop.
Those are cool.
Which is
for free too, which is what kind of wild. That's never been done before.
Yeah, just a free stealth drop. I think they just tweeted about it and posted in the Discord. I know that there were a bunch of art blocks, maybe algorithm holders, who are a little bummed about that because they're like, well, if you're going to give it out for free,
you gotta give it to me.
Yeah, give it to the people who already hold them. But yeah, I think they're really, really cool. I love.
Yeah,
both.
you are a big algorithms fan. I remember that for sure.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of squiggles, today they opened up the Ropsten test network site for minting squiggles. I think Genesis and one other collection. So anyone could go to the
I think it was construction token.
Website.
I think they were basically redoing Day Zero essentially.
They were, but they changed one of them. Yeah, it was meant to be construction token. I think it was color study now.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, but basically anyone could, if you had some ETH on the test network, go and mint any of these and just see what you get. Like you run through the whole algorithm, which is just so much fun and cool. And people were posting
Yeah.
like the squiggles that they got, and yeah.
So what exactly is the idea? They're testing out a new smart contract, basically.
I presume so. I noticed that when I did it, you had the mint to another wallet option was back, which they used to have 8 months ago or something, where when you went to mint, you could just mint directly to someone else's wallet as a gift, and then they removed it because I think bots were like exploiting that to mint dozens and hundreds of curated pieces, and then I guess they're bringing it back because it's less of an issue now. But maybe they're also, I know that they're testing a bunch of things with their smart contracts, like they're thinking about well, they are planning to move the Dutch auctions to like the gradual rather than step down every 5 minutes.
Yes.
I know that they're thinking about layer 2 options and yeah, it's just they're doing
The
cool
gradual
stuff,
Dutch
always.
auction thing is a big deal to me. I think that's going to be really helpful.
I think so too.
Because as people that have participated in them, there is such it basically, the idea of the Dutch auction for the most part was to avoid the gas war situation. But ultimately, what ended up happening is that it kind of just made everybody wait 35 minutes after the mint started for the gas war to happen. Because there would generally be a sort of a level where people finally started minting about maybe, let's say, 15 to 20% of it. And then it was clear that when the next drop down in price happened, everybody was going to try and mint there. And that's when the gas war would happen.
Yeah.
So it's basically a small improvement when a pure gradual Dutch auction would have been a massive improvement.
Yeah. I don't know if you've read Snowfro's big announcement a few days ago.
I saved it to Evernote, but I haven't got around to reading it yet.
I mean, I just love everything he writes. But he mentions how there's a spoiler alert. But he mentions how there's a shift or a move to sort of trying to ensure that not every single project is like 1,000 mints, which is became the de facto. Where maybe if the algorithm can't support it, then the curation board might recommend or have guidelines that say, well, you can have this as a curated drop, but with 300 mints. And we're seeing that, I don't know if that's in effect already, but Flux is only going to be 500, which is probably like the first curated drop in a very long time that I can remember that was not 900 plus.
I think Dreams had 600, and that was so long ago. Just off the top of my head, that's the first one that jumps to mind that I feel is less than 1,000.
And it used to be fairly common, I think, for drops to be less than 1,000. Yeah.
For the first 3 seasons, it was fairly common, and then I guess demand was big enough, and the algorithms they felt had enough variety that it was kind of easy to just go right around 1,000 for all of them.
Yep. But I like that sort of shift in direction. I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it also can, but because you need a certain amount of variety to justify 1,000 mints, you're in some ways also, shrinking the theoretical artistic space or whatever for projects that can be curated, because there's stuff that's awesome enough theoretically to be curated, but only within the scope of, say, again, a 300 or 500 piece collection, because the algorithm's awesome. It makes unique, interesting art, but past a certain point, then it doesn't quite have that variety to justify, more.
Yeah, totally agree. I don't know if we spoke about this on the podcast, but you finally bought an Zeneca, your first Zeneca,
I think we talked about it.
Did we?
It's been a decent amount of time, but I don't want to spend too long just in silence on the podcast trying to remember if we talked about it. But yeah, I got an Zeneca recently.
Yeah.
There was the article composition, which is my favorite for sure. I was kind of in DMs with somebody on Discord about buying theirs, and we just couldn't come to an agreement, which is pretty normal, I think. And then they pointed out to me maybe 2 weeks after we started, hey, somebody just put a composition, and again, their piece was a composition one, which is what I was going for, on the floor. And traditionally, they have traded way above the floor. And were just alerting me to it out of the kindness of their heart because they knew I was looking for one.
Yeah.
And they said they would have bought it if they had, the F, but they did not. And I was like, wow, thank you. And so I picked it up, and now I got one.
Yeah. And it was a blue background as well, which is fairly rare, and I like them.
Yeah. I'm getting closer and closer to that full curated set, even though I'll never get it. But I'm getting closer to it.
Never say never. Never say never.
No, I guess I shouldn't, but it seems like it will never happen.
Yeah. Well, if Art Block's prices keep going the way they're going for another 6 months, maybe 5 ETH will get you there.
Could be.
Probably not, though.
Almost certainly not.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about now for Art Blocks?
Well, you said art blocks and generative art in general. I have lots to talk about generative art now that I'm doing it, but we can save that for the next section where we're talking about our stuff, because it seems, I want to say more relevant, but it's like exactly as relevant, right? But it doesn't matter.
I want to quickly ask if you know anything more about fxhash. Like, I know that they were in beta mode, and now that's ended.
I would say beta, yeah.
Beta, and then.
By the way, I'm going to pause you right there. That used to be such a fun thing on the podcast that we, and it was happening purely organically. I don't know why all of a sudden now we just agree on how to pronounce stuff, but that was such a fun thing at the beginning when we would constantly find words we didn't agree on.
Or maybe we just let it slide. Like, you still say ETH incorrectly all the time.
Yeah, I guess, but it felt like for a while we were finding new ones constantly.
Yeah, all the time.
And now, anyway.
I guess
you want to know what I know about it? What do you know about it? And then maybe I can add on top.
So I know that fxhash was in beta, and it ended. And I heard some rumors or like murmurs that there was a token coming. And that's like the extent of what I know about it. I don't know if they've opened it up again, if minting, etc.
I don't know much. I know that they announced the beta was going to end, and they were going to burn all unminted tokens when that happened. And that happened. It's called the Great Burning or whatever. Excuse me. The only thing I know really about the upcoming version, the non-beta version, is that they're allowing for multiple contracts to be involved in the creation, basically, of a NFT. So in theory, me and you could collaborate on a project, and then we could have the proceeds split between us for the initial sales and for the secondary sales. So basically adding the ability to have, either A, collaborative work, or, B, things where you go, I'm going to send 20% to this charity or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is now built into the new contract.
Seems cool.
That was the only thing that I heard about it, because I don't, even though I'm very into fxhash and the art there, I haven't spent almost any time on the Discord. Excuse me. And don't spend a ton of time, queued into the community on Twitter. Although I think I probably will more going forward. I just don't know much beyond my own experiences on the site minting and buying stuff on the marketplace.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's still a little more than what I knew. So, all right. This has been
Art Blocks and generative art in general. Our projects. Roy, let's talk about me or you and me.
You and me.
What are you saying?
Meant to be living free in harmony.
Is this a real song?
I think so. One fine day.
I have no idea what you're singing.
Rome wasn't built in a day?
That's an expression. I'm not familiar with the song.
Oh my god. I might be getting the lyrics wrong. I'm notoriously awful with lyrics, but
yeah, and the rhythm or whatever that word.
Oh, I did not have a beautiful voice. Yeah.
Let's talk about ZenAcademy. How about that?
Let's talk about ZenAcademy. Sure. It's a pretty exciting time in ZenAcademy for various reasons. One is that my course with Nas Academy is finally live, which is a course on how to launch an NFT project. And now you're smirking.
Oh, just because I remembered the Nas thing where I was like, does it have to do with Nas? It doesn't. My favorite rapper. It's a whole thing. And you successfully named a Nas song when we did that last time. That was impressive.
Yep. All right. Back to ZenAcademy. The course was live. It is live. It's day 4 or 5 at the moment. People have been taking it. People have been enjoying it. I was somewhat petrified that people would not enjoy it, or that so far, I mean, I don't think I've received any bad feedback. Might be because, I don't know, people don't want to give me bad feedback, or people just really enjoy it. So it's good so far. And that's at the end of the week. Basically, anyone who's taken the class, paid for it, will be able to mint an NFT that will give them access to the ZenAcademy Discord. So we're going to see a bunch of new people joining, which I think is fun. And next week, a new class begins. Every week, there's a new cohort of students who sign up and can sort of.
Oh, okay, I see.
Every day, the videos unlock and there's exercises. And the idea is you do it, and then you can chat to other people, and there's instructors. You can ask
on
questions.
their platform. I would assume so.
Yes, it unlocks on their platform and everything, but they've got like a Discord server. It used to be like that they put everyone into WhatsApp groups, but WhatsApp is very not Web3 friendly because you have your phone number, your full name, and people are stealing.
Yeah.
And so I really strongly suggested moving to Discord. Besides, like, if you want to be in NFTs and Web3, you got to get used to Discord. So I was like, let's move the classes to there.
Or build something better. I would love for somebody to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, every week a new class opens up, and then if someone wants, they can take the videos and do it at their own pace. They don't have to do it that week.
That was what I had just assumed the whole thing was, but I didn't know about
there's some structure
classes.
to it.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's fun. We actually had a launch party on Zoom, and there was like 120 people turned up.
You said that was really fun.
Crazy. It was so much fun. They had a couple of co-hosts that were like really high energy people, and there was fun music playing. There was like these games that we played, and they gave out an iPad and like a ledger and like money and gift cards and like prizes, and it was like really, really fun. There's a Q&A, and I got to show people
Twitter
my
Q&A.
gallery. So it's been good. And so that's part 1 of ZenAcademy. Stuff happening. Part 2 is, I guess, with the 333 club, we're like extremely close to selling out now. There's like, I think, less than 20 left. And again, I'm just being really. So a crazy thing happened. A bunch of them got bought up the other day. Like 4 sold in the course of like 12 hours from like 8 ETH, and 1 sold at 15 ETH. And then the floor was just 29 ETH because no one had listed in between. And I was just like, what is happening? So it's now come down. It's like 12 or 15 or something. But it's this really strange position where I still have to effectively approve 20 more people to mint at 3 ETH. Something that the market is valuing at 10 to 15 ETH. So it's like, who do I want to give 10 ETH of value to? But like, but I'm trying to think of it in the reverse way of like, who do I think would add value to the 333 plus want to join for quote unquote the right reasons because they want to build and get and not just to flip it and that kind of stuff. So it's taking a little longer than I would have. Like, ideally, I would have had them all done this week before my holiday, but I don't think that's going to happen. But again, no rush, but we're getting close to minting out. And then we're sort of internally working on the bigger picture stuff, like the lore of ZenAcademy, the world that it exists in, and what we want to do in that direction, moving towards like a PFP project. Yes, actually.
Is it? But it's too secret.
It's
you
not
can't
public.
Tell us yet.
Yeah, it's Professor Z is what I can say.
Okay. What? Hold on. But the Z stands for something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he has a brother, and maybe I won't say too much more. But I got like Emily, who's doing all the creative writing and world building stuff. She put together this whole.
She's got tongue tied a little bit there, right?
I was like lore building, world building, storytelling, and it's like it all just merged into one. But she put together like this presentation of just the world and like the characters and the guilds and other stuff. And I was like, yeah, it was really fun and exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah. So again, we're sort of like figuring out how we want to approach the PFP project, because I think we've just like. I think it makes sense to do a PFP project because, again, people love it. It really helps community building. People love being able to have that identity, and ERC 1155 letter just doesn't cut it.
Right. or
But-
just a lot of what has happened from my observation is basically adding the crystal ball emoji
Yeah.
somewhere in like a Twitter profile or whatever
Yeah.
to signify that I identify
Yeah.
as being part of this community,
Yeah.
which is something. But again, the better sort of bigger way to do it these days
Yeah.
seems to be the profile picture.
Yeah. So that's
we,
like
that,
something
we
that we're
heard
working
about
on.
this. Sorry, on the last episode, talking to Ryan and Kevin when they were saying, the Proof Collective, no matter how
the
cool we
card.
designed this membership pass, is not something that people are going to want to
Yeah.
rock as a profile picture.
Absolutely
So
right.
in terms of community building, the way to go these days is largely with the profile picture.
Yeah. So that's stuff we're also working towards. In the shorter term, we have new logos coming out for both ZenAcademy and 333, and a new website coming out with like a landing page. Yeah, I'm really excited to show off like the animation that's being created. And then we have live events coming up. We're going to NFT NYC. We're planning something. Just before that, MET Amsterdam. There's an event. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of cool stuff happening with ZenAcademy.
Remind me about the movie thing, because I have to at least do one of them. One of them being Harry Potter's. That is specifically.
So once a week we have a movie night. The time varies a little bit in that we try and make it either nighttime for the US or nighttime for Europeans, in which case it would be afternoon for those in the US. And usually those in like Asia, Australasia can fit one of those two in as well, but it's just not going to be nighttime. Anyway, once a week, Harry Potter
movie. A lot
movie.
of preamble. I'm just waiting to hear when the next one is.
The next one is, let me go check. It should be.
I guess there's listeners that could be curious and you're informing them, but I'm selfish.
It'll be tomorrow, the 14th, Thursday the 14th at 6 p.m. Eastern.
6 p.m. Okay.
And it's going to be Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And there will be a POAP, which looks awesome.
Which is the third or the fifth?
Fifth movie.
Fifth, okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's I think that's most of what's happening with ZenAcademy and 333 Club. And I guess since we're talking, this is my project section, I had my other podcast launched, which it's like basically my YouTube show being converted into podcast. Yeah, someone made a funny comment in the Discord
that was
today.
why I smirked when you said it.
Yeah, they were like, you missed an opportunity, or like a petition to rename Zen Chats to One Bored Ape.
One Bored Ape. That is funny. We've also joked about that privately with like, if I sell one, what do we call this podcast? If I sell
One Bored Ape and a dog.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that I'm excited about that. I think it's just
that's an interview format, basically, one-on-ones.
Yeah, and again, it'll be on my YouTube as well as podcasts. But like a bunch of people were like, I just want to listen. I don't want to watch, and you can't easily just listen to a YouTube video because as soon as you close the app, your phone sleeps, it just stops playing, and et cetera. So yeah, we'll have links to that. But that's it for my projects and my stuff. What's going on with you, Jamie? What's happening? What's going on with Abstract of the Day?
It's still completed. It's still a completed project. There's actually two of my favorite pieces are listed near the floor, and I've been resisting the urge to buy them myself because it feels weird, but I'm still tempted to do it.
I'm going to go look right now.
It's the Woven Wonder and Jellyfish are the ones specifically. But anyway, I have just been learning P5JS and having so much fun, and being kind of upset with myself for not having gotten into it earlier. I think I mentioned this previously on the podcast, but that same thing that I felt basically when I went from doing watercolors to digital stuff in terms of the amount of sort of power and ease or whatever that the technology was affording me. It's that same level jump up, I feel, going from doing the stuff on the tablet to now doing it in P5JS with the added issue of the fact that I don't know how to program in this language. and I would say a bad learner of programming languages. I can get frustrated pretty easily. But the feedback loop of making art is really conducive to me being able to stick with it. And I've also actually found a really good YouTube channel that is run by some guy who does a ton. I thought I was going to have more. Like, I don't know his name.
Run by some guy.
Yeah. But yeah, he does a ton of videos and he's got a good personality or whatever, and does them on every subject imaginable. Roy's laughing from soup to nuts on learning P5JS, and so it's been super
From
helpful
soup
to me.
to nuts.
Oh, is that not an expression in Australia?
I've never heard of that before.
It's basically from A to Z.
A to Z.
I think you'd have basically soup as an appetizer, and then nuts would be sort of part of your dessert, kind of. I think that's the origination of it. Anyway, this
soup to cake, soup to ice cream.
Okay.
Soup to
the
cheese.
expression is soup to nuts, right?
Soup to dessert.
All right. Should I keep talking, or do you want to keep thinking of ways to?
I kind of want to keep thinking about. I think I'm out. Soup to chocolate.
Soup
all right,
to creme brulee. Amuse bouche to after aperitif. Anyway.
Well, now I kind of want to think of a dessert that starts with a Z, because we've got amuse bouche with the A.
Oh, that's Zeppeli. Done. I already did it.
What? Zeppeli?
It's a type of fried dough. I believe it's Italian.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, we're off topic a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, I guess people should probably follow me on Instagram if they want to see the art. I've been doing it. What am I trying to say? Tweeting it as well, but just inherently, Instagram seems a little more conducive, right, to sharing images than Twitter. So I've been posting them a little bit more on Instagram than I have Twitter, even though my Instagram followers is largely just a bunch of people from my regular life who don't particularly care about art or NFTs, and everyone on Twitter does. But I've been getting a lot of people actually on. You were going to say something, or should I keep going?
You keep going, then I'll ask.
A lot of people on Twitter have been like asking me if I have a drop coming up, or if I'm planning on doing a drop or selling these stuff. And, ultimately, I would like to sell some generative art NFTs in the future, but I don't have any sort of immediate plans, because I just still feel so green with the stuff that I feel like everything I'm making now is me trying to learn the software. And if it, sort of comes out nice looking, that's almost an accident. And so right now I'm just happy to be improving and learning and having a fun time. It feels good that I'm liking the outputs, and people on Twitter and Instagram are as well. That feels good. But I don't want to do anything too soon. If I do, it'll definitely be a very low price drop on fxhash. That feels like something I would feel okay doing. And it is such an amazing platform for that, because literally you can charge $4, $8, 1 Tez, 2 Tez, 5 Tez, very, very affordable stuff. So I may do that sooner than I think, but right now I still just want to keep learning and trying stuff out. But it is so much fun. I'm really ecstatic about it. I don't know if I mentioned this just to you or on the podcast. I think I wanted to say that the other way, but you get the idea. That, I always feel like on my to-do list for any given day for years now, make art and work on programming have been like, X number N and X number Y or whatever on the to-do list, or N plus X. I forgot what the expression I used was.
Jamie,
but basically,
we're not an algebra class.
I know, I'm sorry. And it would have worked so much better if I could actually remember how I had phrased it initially, because it
X
made
plus
sense.
2 and X plus 3.
Yes, X plus 1 and X plus 2. Thank you. Where X was the amount of things I can actually fit into a day. So basically, they always ended up being things that I wanted to get to, but just couldn't find the time to. But now that they're combined into this one thing, it's something that's very easy for me to find the time
X
to do.
minus 4.
Something like that. Yeah, it's right. It's right near the top of my to-do list every day, and I'm getting in the reps, so to speak. And it's just I'm loving being able to do it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm loving seeing your progression and like the stuff that you're creating. It's really cool. Like, it looks great.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask before is, what's your Instagram account for people who do want to follow you?
It's funny. It used to be XASTON. I think you might still be able to find it that way. But the other day I saw in settings or whatever, you can just change the name.
Yeah.
So I changed it to Jaime Musings. So I don't know if it's /Zaston and then it just display name is Jaime Musings now.
Yeah.
Or if it's changed so this is not a good plug for it. But we'll get the actual link in the show notes, and it'll work fine.
Yeah. Amazing. But
also on Twitter, you're going to probably see them equally. It's just it'll it might be harder to find it in the feed or something because I have a bunch of dumb tweets about, politics or whatever other crap clogging it up. Whereas on the Instagram, the only other thing you'll find maybe is like cute pictures of my dog.
Cool.
Which, by the way, get way more likes than
of course.
Or historically. Yeah. Now I'm using these hashtags. You know about hashtags, Roy?
I've heard.
So I use the hashtags on the art ones, and then people can find them by clicking the hashtags. It's a whole thing, social media and blah, blah, blah. Oh man, right. I crack myself up sometimes.
At least you crack someone up.
That's kind of rude, but do you want to play What Am I Thinking?
Yeah, let's play.
I have the word.
All right, I got one.
3, 2, 1. Salmon.
Hexagon.
Salmon and hexagon. Those feel pretty far apart. Salmon and hexagon. Salmon and hexagon.
All right.
I can't believe you already have something.
It's obvious.
Salmon and hexagon. How do you even start broaching those two?
It's very abstract in my mind, but I've made a connection.
All right, I got something. 3, 2, 1. Sphere.
Farm.
Sphere and farm.
Okay.
Sphere and farm. Okay, I got something. 3, 2, 1. Eggs. That was what I was thinking when I said sphere in the first place. I was going, well, we got a shape. They have the eggs.
I thought you were talking about the like the salmon egg, the roe.
Yeah, those are eggs.
Oh yeah, they are.
Holy shit! That might be the dumbest moment you've ever had on the podcast. I thought you were talking about the salmon eggs. Wow.
Oh boy. All right. Well, let's end on a low note.
Yeah.
Should we mention NFT Go again?
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks to NFT Go for sponsoring us. Please check them out so that they feel like it was a smart idea to sponsor us.
But also, it's genuinely a good platform. Like we wouldn't.
It really is an amazing tool, or I should say, collection of tools, right? Because it's got all sorts of things that you can use to analyze the NFT market and to analyze little subsets of it that you're more interested in as well.
Yeah, and we'll have all the links in the place where the links are below the thing. We call them show notes. There you go. Yep. All right. Episode 40 in the books. Episode 40. That's crazy. We've done 40 episodes. I know, it really is. I was thinking about how long it's been recently. Like, I was thinking specifically about the trajectory of art blocks over the course of it. Is like it was so low and it was going crazy, and I was going low again. It's like we've been doing this for a long time. Yeah. The next art blocks bull market is going to be wild. Oh my god, yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Thank you.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.